Hello everyone, and welcome to Flow Fundamentals from the Automating Admin, the video series designed to help Salesforce professionals learn flows. In today's video, we'll be going over the different type of flows available in Salesforce. We'll also go over the difference between starting from scratch when building a flow versus using a template. By the end of this video, we'll learn the difference between building a flow from scratch versus using a template, the difference between various flow types including screen flow, record-triggered flows, and auto-launched flows. To get started on building a flow, go into Setup, then search for flows in the Quick Find search box. This page displays all flows in our Salesforce org and also allows us to create new flows. In the top right of the page, click New Flow. The first question we are presented with is whether we want to start from scratch or use a template. If we select Start from Scratch, we are then asked to select the type of flow, and after selecting, we will be presented with an empty flow canvas. We'll discuss the different types of flows in a moment. If we select Use a Template, Salesforce then provides us with several pre-built flows we can use as a starting point. We can use the search bar to find a specific template, or we can use the flow type filters on the left-hand side of the screen to also narrow down the results. Once a template is selected, the flow canvas will be pre-populated with steps and actions. We will get into the flow canvas and these steps in a future video. Determining whether to start from scratch or use a template depends on a few factors. Starting from scratch allows the most flexibility when designing a flow, as there are more flow types to select from, and you can build the flow to exactly fit your needs. The trade-off, however, is that building the flow takes longer, and if you're just starting out with flows, you may encounter challenges when building. Using a template is a great option if the templated flow mostly fits your business needs. You can edit the flow to adapt it to specific use cases. Additionally, if you're newer to flows, you can use the template as a reference for building new flows, such as what elements to use or how to order the operations. Templates do come with some drawbacks though. During your journey as a flow builder, there will be inevitably business scenarios where a template cannot be used, such as building a flow for custom objects. Additionally, not all flow types are available as templates. When building a flow, one of the most important steps is selecting the correct flow type. The flow type determines how the flow is triggered, and what steps and actions can be built into the flow. There are well over a dozen different flow types, with even more depending on the Salesforce edition and services purchased. However, for this video, we will only be focusing on the recommended set of flow types. The screen flow is used to guide users through a series of steps using screens. These screens can have sections and fields for the user to interact with, or the screens can simply provide information. In addition to user interaction via screens, the flow can also perform actions in the background, and can leverage the data from the screens. Here's an example of a screen flow guiding a user through creating a case for an account. There will be a future video where we create a screen flow. Screen flows can be triggered via custom buttons, added as components to Lightning pages, or even placed in Experience Cloud sites. A record-triggered flow performs actions when a specific object's record is created or changed. When building the flow, the triggering object is set, as well as any entry criteria to limit when the flow fires. An example of a record-triggered flow is populating a custom field on case when the owner is changed for the first time. We will also have a future video creating a record-triggered flow. Because record-triggered flows are dependent on an action being taken on a record, such as changing a field, this flow runs in the background and does not require direct user interaction. This type of flow is most similar to workflows and process builders, which are being retired at the end of 2025. Scheduled triggered flows are similar to record-triggered flows, in that we need to select the object and criteria, but instead of waiting for the records to be changed to meet the criteria, the flow instead runs on a scheduled frequency. The flow will check for each record that meets the criteria and then performs the actions in the flow. Here is a scheduled triggered flow that runs every night at 10 p.m. looking for open opportunities and sets a field on the record. Scheduled triggered flows also run in the background, and only run at the specified time and frequency. The flow will also run for each record that meets the criteria. So, if there are 100 records that meet the criteria, the flow will run 100 times. Platform event-triggered flows are also similar to record-triggered flows, but run when a platform event message is received. Here is a flow that sends an email when a flow execution error occurs. Like record-triggered and scheduled flows, these two run in the background. However, they don't rely on a record being changed, but rather a platform message being received. Auto-launched flows are somewhat unique. They can perform the same actions as other flows, but their main difference is how they are triggered. Auto-launched flows have to be triggered by some other action, such as a button or apex. Auto-launched flows can also be triggered by other flows, which is normally used when we want to have identical automation steps used across several flows. Here is an example of an auto-launched flow added to a screen flow, where the auto-launched flow sends an email to a system administrator when the flow finishes. When we go over creating a screen flow in a future video, we will also build an auto-launched flow. Like most of the other flow types we discussed in this video, auto-launched flows also run in the background. Finally, record-triggered orchestration flows are a combination of multiple types of flows. This type of orchestration triggers when a record is created or updated, similar to a record-triggered flow. The flow can be built for multiple stages, flows, and steps, and even involve multiple user interactions. Here is an example of an orchestration used for case triage. Orchestration flows are initially triggered in the background, but can also require user interaction to proceed. These user interactions can be triggered via components on Lightning record pages. That's all for today's Flow Fundamentals video. If you enjoyed the content, please be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks, and I'll see you all later.